Hello, all y'all good people. What is up? I know it's been a minute, but I'm back. It's Kimberly with Pop Culture Green Room. And we've got, of course, our other co-host with us. We've got Miss Wendy J. She's back again. Hello, hello.
Hey.
And okay, y'all, this is a great episode. This is awesome because I've been trying to get Dara on here for a while now, and it worked out perfectly, and the timing couldn't have been better. Because why not? Because we're getting into the whole Justin Baldini, Justin Baldoni, I'm sorry, forgive me, Justin Baldoni and
Girl, he
Blake
deserves to have
Lively,
his name
the feud,
mispronounced. Don't worry about it.
the legal issues, everything that's going on. But the big part of the story is the publicist. It seems to be like this whole feud with the publicist back and forth. And so I was like, I want to hear from a publicist standpoint. Like I want to hear a publicist standpoint about their breakdown. What do they think is going on? So we're going to look at some articles, just toss around some questions, like ideas, and what we think's going on, and just shoot the shit with the rest of it, with whatever else is going on in pop culture. And here we are. All right, Aaron. Oh, so in there. I'm like so excited. I can't even like talk right. Okay. So let me slow down and I will talk to you nicely. Okay. Right there. Go ahead and introduce yourself for all of us, please.
Hi, I'm Dara Avenius. I am a publicist. I have my own company called Fascinate Media, and excuse me, I've been a publicist for 13 years. I became a publicist when I got involved with helping find a missing young woman and got tons of press over the course of a weekend for her and realized I loved what I was doing. She's doing great now and thriving. And I started my company about a year later. And I've worked with celebrities, people in the food world, health, wellness, etc., lifestyle, you name it. And I really love being a publicist. It's fun to amplify people's voices and also gossip about entertainment. Let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. I'm with you, Kim. I will say, obviously, I am only reading all of the media from a perspective of just knowing what's going on from getting the news, right? But I too, because things are getting very heated, I'm very interested to hear like a publicist take on what's going on because holy cow, like you just when you think the story is done, it comes back again. And I feel like I just saw a couple articles today that was like, okay.
Oh yeah, there's so much going on, and I thought about talking about this earlier, but it's such a mess from the start. Um, so one of the things that happened is that the publicist Jennifer Abel posted in a PR group that I actually am part of. Her response to everything that got very quickly screenshot and shared with quite a lot of gossip sites, including Demois. This was like a couple
Wow.
weeks ago, and
Okay. Wow. Okay.
yeah, I was in the group and saw her post, and my jaw dropped when I saw it because if there's any type of litigation, the last thing you want to do is post anything, especially not without a lawyer going over your statement and approving it. But definitely not in some sort of group. And I understand she wanted to defend herself to fellow publicists, but oof, not when you know this is going to be ugly like this. And I definitely think that was a misstep on her part. I don't know her. I've never worked with her. It's a group that has about 22,000 various people in media and marketing and PR. I've been in the group since
Okay.
there were about 4,000 people in the group. So it can definitely feel like a small world. But the one thing that you need to remember is that, and this is something I tell my clients all the time, is off the record is not off the record. It's very rarely. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you tell a journalist off the record, a lot of times they'll respect that, but once it's out there, it's out there. You can't take it back, and that's very much the thing. And especially with something that's so incendiary like this, but also has a background of litigation, um, and uh, um, and that's definitely within the court system. I would have held my tongue. But you know what? We make our own choices, and yikes, that's not one I would have made.
Yeah,
So,
and especially to put something in writing like that shocks me, because I will say, like, I'm in a completely different line of work, right? Like, I work in the tech industry. It's so far removed, but one of the things that I say all the time is, like, when I'm talking with my teams and somebody says something, or we've got like a manager that's asking for something, I say, you need to get it in writing, because until it's in writing, it's not any good. Or if someone's asking for something that doesn't feel correct, I always say, well, let's get that in writing, because
mhm,
if they're confident about it, they're going to put it in writing. And then sometimes people will put stuff in writing, and I'm like, wow, man, you really sent that in an email? So, like, for
mhm,
someone who comes from a, hey, once it's out there, just
mhm.
really
Mhm.
shocks me. But I think it maybe speaks to the whole tone of, like, just how heated this whole thing has gotten, right?
Oh, it is. It is. It's like a boxing match, and or
Mhm.
probably like more like a ping pong game, because you're just sitting there like, oh, that side. Wait, no, that side, and the
Yeah,
smears and
exactly.
the
Mhm.
oh wait, whose side are we on? Whose side are we not on? Um, and of course uh there's a fact that there is publicists in the background and now in the foreground,
Mhm.
as part of it. um and
Which has never happened before.
what do you mean?
Like, it's never like where the publicists really were like they came out, but really were out like out in front and center of like a whole big feud with celebrities, because you never hear about it. And that's the one thing that everybody noticed, and that's how I
Mhm,
wanted to bring this in, because I thought it was fascinating that the publicists were really like, people were like, they were starting to look them up and research them, like, wait, who's this? Oh wait, this is going on. Oh wait, I want to know about this publicist now. They're who? And then so they want to see pictures and they want to know more about them. So now everyone's getting curious about publicists because this
mhm.
whole thing. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah, the
Here's
publicists
my
are.
question on that.
Oh, go ahead.
Then I will say, from a publicist standpoint, is your thought process that, like, a good publicist is always one that's in the background? Are there ever times where it's okay to step out in front? Like, what's the thought behind that, or is it situational?
I struggle with that myself, because people have told me to put my thoughts out there more. And so I've started with my TikTok videos. God knows if that's going to stick around. But with my TikTok videos, posting some thoughts on various situations that I am not part of. For instance, I had one get 160,000 views recently that was about a totally separate thing. Ashlyn Harris speaking on a podcast, actually, about her dissolution of her marriage with Ellie Krieger. And I just, recorded it and didn't think anything of it. And then I woke up the next day and it had gone pretty viral. So that's something I struggle with, because on one hand, publicists should be in the background. Our work is to help the image and brand awareness of our clients. It's I don't want to say Oz in the dark, because it's not masterminding per se, but just being the silent supporter for our clients. We shouldn't necessarily be in the news, but the reason that I stepped out and started to do TikTok videos is because we do have interesting perspectives on things,
Mhm.
and so I thought that it would be important to do that. Should a publicist be the center of the story? Like now, I don't think so. They should not be part of it. Has it happened before? I'm sure there are stories that I'm not even thinking of. But to be such a central part of the story, like it is currently, that's not typical. There's a reason on the red carpet we wear black. It's kind of like the mother-in-law at the wedding. Wear black and you shut up. We're the ones on the red carpet that you aren't supposed to be paying attention to. We're not in the glitzy gowns on purpose. And so that's part of it, is that I think there's other publicists who do post on TikTok and are comment on stories sometimes. But for me, like, I wouldn't necessarily comment on a story that's about my clients. I
Mhm.
don't want my part of a story with a client in the news. And I actually had that many years ago, where a former client ended up in a news story, and the journalist reached out to me about commenting on it, and I declined to do so because I'd rather handle it behind the scenes. Any of my grievances or issues, I'd rather handle it behind the scenes. So no, it's not typical for Publicist to be such a main character. And also part of the thing is I don't necessarily do crisis communications. I'm not specialized in it, let me say. But crisis communications is very much something where you should not be seeing the publicist as part of it or the main character. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's part of what really piqued my interest, because that never happens. And that's why I was like, this is like a crisis situation. And the next thing I knew, it's like the publicist started taking center stage. But then when I pulled back, that's when I started to realize, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, it really goes to show that how much a publicist's work influences the public. Like, it really just shows how much. And it's wild. Like, I mean, it makes sense, but it's just so wild how it's like, it goes to show how much of an influence it is, and it makes. And I was like, I am here for it, because I want to know all about it.
Some of the aspects, again, this is not my specialty, so I don't I may not be 100% on speaking on it, but someone that I was friendly with and who gave me some advice over time was, God rest his soul, Howard Bragman, who's very well known crisis communications person. And he worked with a lot of LGBT clients, helping them come out. So he was on the news being interviewed, and he would put out statements on behalf of his clients. But for the most part, most people's work with crisis is behind the scenes. I remember someone many years ago, couldn't tell you who it was, telling me about how she got a call. She got out of crisis because it was a 24/7 job. And, if her phone went off at 3 a.m, she had to answer it. And she told me something about how she got a call of some rock star getting caught on an airplane at, doing that stuff. And I don't know if I can say it, so I don't want to, because I don't want to pull down. And she was able to make sure that the press didn't get to it. Now, some people think that that's subterfuge, but it's really just protecting your clients and putting them in the best light forward. And really good crisis communications also is about if there is a crisis, handling it, being transparent of how you're going to handle it and do better going forward. So there's a variety of aspects to it. For me as a publicist, a lot of my work is pitching clients and bringing them their platform forward. But you never know, at any time a client might have a crisis, because as you can see, things can go viral. Someone can tweet the wrong thing and all of a sudden it has 1 million views, and they lose their job, they lose their, and all of a sudden you need crisis. So there's all aspects to it.
That's so crazy. Do you think it's telling at all of the dimensions to this story that we are seeing the publicists become central figures? Or is it's just a big mess, and that's maybe things are kind of coming undone? I don't know. It's, for me, like, just being a reader of the things in the press, right, and not having any publicity background and not coming from that world, sometimes I go, is this an angle? Are they trying to, maneuver, or have things just gotten so messy that it's like all the wheels are off at this point?
Again, I just want to reiterate that I am not part of the whole situation, so I don't 100% know what's going on behind the scenes with everything, but probably a little bit of both. It's there's a lot of very powerful people involved. So there's a lot of reputation at stake, a lot of money at stake, which is interesting because it was a small movie that I think didn't do that great at the box office.
I think it's on Netflix already. It's on the streamers already. Like, I definitely saw it on one of the streamers very recently.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah. I will say that I didn't. I actually haven't seen the movie myself. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean, I think whenever there's so much happening in the press, especially when it comes to entertainment, there's likely some publicity and publicists involved. So yeah, because now you have not only Justin's team, as well as the the team that is in the story themselves, but you've got Blake Lively's team,
Right.
probably some of Ryan Reynolds' PR team, probably WME's team involved, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of publicists who are probably behind the scenes battling this. The main names that came forward were, of course, the two on, or three actually, on Justin Baldoni's team. And there's aspects that, there's also aspects to it of other fighting, in that Jennifer was on Joan's work, and there's now lawsuits going on with that. She was Joan's work, hired Melissa Nathan, and then now is being accused, I believe, by Joan's work of trying to steal clients. So there are so many layers to this fight beyond just the sexual harassment claims. And then also, you have reputations. Justin set up his reputation as very much a feminist, man, etc. And so people are wondering, okay, that was his public persona. Was that legit his real persona, or is what Blake Lively's saying who he was, and he used that as a cloak for his genuine behavior? I'm inclined always to believe victims, so I will say that. And one thing I do have to say is also part of the whole reputation aspect is that video came out with a journalist interviewing Blake Lively, and she was not put in the best light. She did not behave in the best way in that interview. And but here's the thing, is that you don't have to like someone to believe their claims of being abused. And that is part and parcel, I think, of PR also. And one thing I should add is that I have worked with two Weinstein survivors, not during the case, but afterwards. So I am familiar with that, as well as one of my friends / on-off clients is a stalking advocate. So I come from that background as well.
I mean, I'll tell you, that answer just goes back to what Kim was saying at the beginning, which is, now that the publicists have kind of been brought into it, I think we're starting to realize, and everyday folks are probably now realizing just how much the publicists, touch and control, not just the public personas, but even the personal lives and the aspects that they're involved in. So, wow, that's wild. It's just such a crazy story.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. And it's really interesting because I see comments all the time on Instagram or wherever. Oh, it's a PR stunt. Oh, it's a PR stunt. This is, a PR relationship. And I feel like the general public is suspicious of everything being a PR related, as if, or as they say, the Illuminati, but, as if there's some band like always controlling everything. And are there aspects to that? Sure. But, is that everything? No. A publicist can control a lot. They can't control everything.
Everything. Yeah.
So
it's no different than putting a PR spin on something, or having something be out there to twist PR a little bit. It's no different than, if you think about it, like I think about, my Instagram feed, right? What I choose to portray on there is not always, real life. Or maybe I twist it. I might be having the worst week ever, but you see X, Y, and Z for me, and it seems like I'm having a wonderful week. And I think it's no different than, it's just on a much larger scale. And yeah, there's a lot of money involved sometimes, but it's really at the heart of it the very same thing,
That's absolutely a fair point. We all do our own PR. As you said, yeah, on Instagram, you're not going to post yourself in jammies on the couch with, 3-day-old makeup and not having showered for 2 days. Why would you do that? You're going to post yourself when you went to a party with, the best angle, and look at me, I'm having the best time. And I was, or I was at this business event, etc. We, I think the idea of warts and all posting, most people don't do that. You don't, and I think also if you do, people will be like, ugh, can't you get together? So
right?
that's
Or they might even look at it and go, okay, isn't even this like the honesty post? Because we see a lot of that towards like the end of the year. I think we all saw toward the end of December, when it's like, hey, everyone posted their highlights, but here's some of my lowlights. And they give you a whole post about like the bad things of the way. And then it's like, sometimes you're like, and there are times where you can tell that someone's just genuinely sharing, like, hey, social media is a trap, and look, I went through crappy things. But most of the time, those are people that are just being honest all the time. People that have like a great year, and then all of a sudden we're like, but look at these things that are going on in my life. Isn't that in and of itself sometimes the honest post, the raw post, a PR stunt, like a personal PR stunt? Like, look how raw I can be. That, yes. Right? I mean,
yeah. Yeah, it's considered, there's something called trauma porn, where, oh, look, she had the worst experience. Oh, that's the worst story. There's, for instance, there's a trend on TikTok right now of is it the Elmo or the Muppet, where people are posting all these crazy stories.
Oh, yeah. It's it's Elmo asking like, how are you feeling today or something like that. Yeah, it's Elmo. Yeah, and then it gets dark.
Yeah, and people are posting all these crazy stories. That is just as much PR, because it's trauma, but it's PR. People love hearing the crazy things that happened to people, the negative things too. Oh my gosh, this happened. Can you believe? It's crazy. So what people don't seem to understand is that we all do elements of PR in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We just maybe don't recognize it as such. If you have a job interview, are you going to sit there and be like, yeah, so I'm actually a slob, and I don't want to get up before 10 a.m. to a job interview? No, you're going to sit there and be like, absolutely, I would love to be there at 8:45, and I'm prompt and on time, and I always look great. So people always want to put their best foot forward, and yes, there's also the raw parts of putting out your negative parts too. So that's part and parcel of life. And we all are, especially now with social media, we are all, what's the term I'm looking for and completely forgetting about? We're all editing our lives and sharing bit-sized parts of what works for us. And to bring it back to PR, what it is that someone just hires someone to put those parts into the press on their social media, but also their press, and to build their reputation. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And that's the unfortunate thing, is people think that PR has gotten a negative rap. There's so much that it can do for a person, a business, a brand, that is amazing. Right. I've had clients where I have gotten them so much press that they've gotten book deals, that they've gotten to take their career to the next level, that they've sold products, that's helped them really build their business to the next level. So there are positives of it. We're just seeing some of the muck of it, of a lot of egos and reputations clashing. And the unfortunate thing is that there is an aspect. There's also dynamics, because of power dynamics behind it, that's happening too. With sexual harassment, men, women, image, feminist men. Are they legit feminist, or are they not really, etc. There's so many dynamics to it to be considered. But from a PR perspective, it's basically anyone else, but with a voice, with an extra voice to push them forward. So
yeah. I mean, honestly, some days I wish that I could just have someone be like, Like, like even just when I think about just my, I'm like, it would be really nice if I could, like, for example, just job interviews. If I could just be like, could I just have someone be like, yeah, look, we're gonna sit down, you're gonna pay me money, and I'm gonna prep you. This is what you're gonna answer. No, don't say like, yes, if I work from home, I'm gonna wake up 15 minutes before my first meeting, and the only thing that's gonna be put together is the top half of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it would, because sometimes I will say, like, it's funny, I say at work sometimes. I say at work too frequently, by the way. Like, guys, I'm probably being too transparent right now. And they usually know that what's going to come out of my mouth is going to be a little bit too truthful. But, there's a time and a place for it. And I'm never like wildly inappropriate. But there are times where I'm like, yeah, sometimes I'm just a little too truthful. And like in those moments, I've always got that little voice in the back of my head that's like, I wish there was someone in the back of the room that, like, as soon as I said that, was like, and I was like, okay, you know what? No, I'm not gonna. You know what? So, sorry, guys, bad connection. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna tell you that.
Exactly.
Kim
Exactly.
knows. Kim knows. She knows what I can say.
Yeah, I had a client many years ago who was prone to saying some wild things. So it was interesting taking this client down the red carpet and having them speak to journalists, because sometimes they'd say things and my jaw would just drop it and I'd say to the journalist, "We're not ready to announce that yet." And I was just like, where did that come from? That wasn't even based in reality. So
we did not talk about that at all today.
No. So a lot of and sometimes that's part of PR, is cleaning up the messes of our clients when they say things off the cuff or incorrectly. That's why we do media training and go over talking points and try and figure out what the journalist is going to ask, because you of course want to put your best foot forward. And unfortunately, sometimes saying the wrong thing can cause a small crisis or can cause a large crisis. How many times have you seen some persona or some brand or president of a CEO of a company say something and that went viral? And it can even cause stocks to tank from them saying things. So yes. So yeah, and it is. That's what PR is in some ways, is just editing things to make sure that you put your best foot forward. In many ways.
Got it. So do you have like
look, sometimes. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you have like a recommendation for, say, for instance, a celebrity, like they did something like really, really like stupid and got like in trouble, or maybe like say they like stole somebody's car, whatever, went for a joyride, they get in trouble, and like what do you suggest that they do? Do you suggest that they just like hold back, like make a statement, like just like fall back for a little bit, like do charity work? What do you recommend? What would you recommend in a situation like that?
I mean, first and foremost, it depends if there's any charges. If they got caught by the police and arrested, that's always part of it. If that was the case, then I would very much work with the lawyer to come up with statements that work.
Okay.
And sometimes I've not worked on something that's an ongoing case, so I want to clarify that. But sometimes from what I've seen is with an ongoing case, there are things that you just can't state, and there's situations where people can't say things. For instance, Taylor Swift over a few months ago with the Vienna terrorism thing. I saw so many people say, "Why isn't she saying anything? She hasn't commented." And one of the things that I responded to people is, she most likely cannot. She's most likely being told by the Vienna authorities not to say something. And that's the thing, is that I understand that fans want to hear from her, but if safety is involved, safety takes priority over assuaging fans' feelings. And that's not in any way to denigrate the feelings of fans, but safety always comes first. So I would, in that case, always listen to authorities. Thankfully, I've not had a client end up with a charge. Not yet that I'm aware of. But in that case, I would definitely work with with their lawyer to figure out what statement to make, because as they say in the court of law, anything you say can and will be used against you, and that's very important. Which, to bring it back to our original topic, Jennifer posting in the PR group that whole statement, that will 100% be used against her. What?
Right, that's what I figured.
I'm sure on some level. Obviously, I'm not privy to the details of the lawsuit, but I'm a good lawyer and PR team will 100% utilize those words against her on some level. So you're best not saying anything. And I also wanted to address something where Justin is suing the New York Times.
Right, yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Right? That's insanity.
I want to hear your take on this.
Okay.
Think about it.
Insanity to me. I will say this is a lot of people question the integrity of journalists, but I will say that I'm pretty sure a company like the New York Times, especially with Megan Twohey, who is the one who wrote the article. What people may not remember is that she was one of the two who broke the Weinstein story. So
right, yeah.
I'm fairly certain that Megan Twohey did all of the research and has looked at thousands upon thousands of documents. I am fairly certain she would not put out anything without, one, having fact-checked it 5 million times, and two, you forget that the New York Times has a fairly extensive legal department that I guarantee you is fact-checking it. And I can say that a few years ago, I had a situation where I don't want to go into details too much, but let's just say an outlet did an expose on someone, and I know for a fact that the writer did 2 years of research. 2 years. Looked into everything possible, not to mention the legal department went over everything with a fine-tooth comb. So even though it's only a few months later since everything with Blake Lively, I am fairly certain and would stake my career on the fact that that the New York Times went over every single IT, dotted everything.
I agree. I agree. Because for one, I was like, that is a bold ass move. I was like, for that lawsuit, I was like, whoa. And then but to me, like because honestly, just like we were talking about earlier, this whole thing, it's been like a ping pong game, like back and forth. And so, of course, me, believe the victim. So,
Special guest.
Aw. Which one is that? Is that
if you're listening to audio, if you're listening on audio, Wendy's beautiful cat just popped up in the frame, so I got excited.
Okay, buddy. There you go.
So cute. But yeah, it's been like a whole been like nothing but like a ping pong thing back and forth. But like I said, it's like I believe victims. I've always believed victims. Even though I will honestly say Blake Lively is not exactly my favorite person. But I always, like I said, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that she's not telling the truth. Like you said earlier, like it's so it's just one of those things. But at the same time, in my honest opinion, I just after that lawsuit like dropped or whatever with the New York Times, I was like, I really do feel like I agree with Kate Casey that I'm starting to think that Justin Baldoni's been like on that grifting for the long haul, like for a long time. And the reason why I say that is because I've been manipulated by somebody like him and before, and you know about that whole situation, and it just I see that pattern, and that's why I was just like I sat back and I was like, holy shit. I was like I was like he is that dude. I was like he's kind of that dude, and I hate to say it, but it's yeah.
Yeah.
You're wrong, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I play the games on New York Times basically every day. I like the connections and Wordle and I don't do the full-blown crossword. I just do the mini, because I'm not brave enough to do the big one. But that's usually one of the things I do, like first thing in the morning. I like to jumpstart my brain with just a little, like, the mini or something, just to like get my brain jump. It's kind of like I go for my walk in the morning, I come back, I do my games. And so of course I saw pretty quickly on the app the little snippet about the lawsuit, and I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure that the words that, I don't know if I said them out loud or if I just thought in my head, but I was like, boy, you might have just put all your cards on the table with that one, sir. Like, what were you thinking? It's not like it's like, okay, it would have been a different story if we woke up and was like, he's suing the Daily Mail. Like, okay, we get that. But the New York Times, sir.
That's my thing. See, that's when I was just like, all right. It's like, all right, take a step back.
That's like calling Mount Everest
crazy
in one leap. Yeah, that's just crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure people sue the Times daily, but like but like that's really going for it. I was shocked when I saw that. Very, very much so.
Right, and he aimed so high.
What?
He aimed so high.
Exactly.
That number, and I was. But someone also said, see, they quoted Wendy Williams. He said, I think that Wendy Williams said that to shoot as high as you can for a lawsuit, so that way when it chops like you might end up meeting somewhere in the middle. But
yeah.
It's crazy to me. But that's when I was just like, I don't know. Now I'm starting to wonder, is he going to have like a nervous breakdown in like the next couple of months? Or something, I feel like something else is about to happen. Because
I mean, look, will he be entering, right? Will one of the next things we hear from his, publicity folks be like, oh, he's entered whatever facility to seek treatment for undisclosed, right? Like,
right. I don't know why I feel like that might be coming.
Yeah, you'll rehab depression. I mean, I don't think he would, at least for a while, because he's gonna play this out and see.
Yeah.
He's now saying that there's factual, that I don't know. By the way, something interesting is that his lawyer went on Megyn Kelly, and that is quite the choice to go on.
That's right. I heard about that.
Oh yeah, to go on Megyn Kelly.
She's no joke. I
mean, but she's also known for not supporting women victims.
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah, she's very. I will say, I know her history. I know her backstory just because she was a woman that I had seen kind of come up in things, and I'm sure she's got several books, but I read one of her books that she wrote, just kind of her backstory and what she, how she came up, and this is a woman that you really, as a woman, you're like, my gosh, you really like, in my 20s, as I'm watching her come up on the news, you're thinking, this is great, like this is a successful woman, and then it's just incredibly problematic for women, and yeah, I just could not. That was not a good play at all. And this is coming from somebody that knows, I mean, like some baseline stuff. And even he's like, are you kidding me? Like, why would you do that? Why?
It was absolutely a choice. It was absolutely a choice to do that. I think he, by going on Megyn Kelly, he's definitely appealing more towards.
Sorry, y'all, my internet is. Oh, hello.
Are we frozen?
We might be. Kim, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear us? Is she frozen?
We lost her.
Oh no.
I know. I think we lost her.
It might be because
we've got each other.
Oh, I can hear. Yeah, I think what is my Wi-Fi back here is bad. I should have done.
I think she might be slow or something.
Uh-oh.
You there, Kim? Yeah?
Are y'all there?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
We're
my
here.
yep, I'm here. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is like it's really shitty right now.
Oh, okay. I think by
Okay,
going on
can
Megyn
y'all hear me?
Kelly, yeah.
Mhm.
I think by going on Megyn Kelly, it was definitely a choice. I think on some level it's to appeal towards men. The whole this woman is attacking me, and here I was trying to do right. And it very, very Megyn Kelly appeals to a certain sector.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, I think that was definitely a choice, and it was definitely a goal to go on her, as opposed to something a little bit more left leaning, more feminist leaning. He purposely chose her. And speaking of purposely chosen, um one of the things that a fellow publicist pointed out in her own TikTok video is that, speaking of all the publicists behind everything, Blake Lively dropped the lawsuit. I believe it was on Friday, right before the holidays. And that's most definitely a choice, because there's not going to be much other press going on. People are,
For us,
winding
yeah.
down about Santa and family. So that was designed to be a PR. That was definitely a PR choice. Let's put it that way. To put it then, within the holidays.
I didn't even think about that, right? Because if you, right, I mean, yeah, that play on knowing what the
I
news
figured that
cycle is
much.
going to be like, and if anything else is going to come up or not come up. Yeah, that's definitely it's interesting because at the time I remember I don't think I saw it that day, but I definitely saw it over that weekend. And that was it's interesting that my brain didn't go there to think like, oh, you're going to drop this at a time where there's a low chance of anything else big kind of overshadowing it, and you're going to get what you want in the news cycle, because sometimes you want things to hit the news cycle, and sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
I hope that we wake up tomorrow and someone else more famous has done something more stupid or crazy, or someone's announcing something huge and this just gets buried.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was that was also quite a
Right.
drug
Hmm.
choice. And that's the thing, is that you're gonna see that. You're gonna see these actions, and on some level it may be confusing, or uh, why would they do that? Why would you drop it right before Christmas? Well, it's a PR choice. Why would he sue
Yeah.
the New York Times? Why would he go
Hmm.
on Megyn Kelly? So yeah, there's definitely both legal and PR aspects. Even still, I will say though that the astroturfing that his publicist did was not. I don't think it's standard, but it's probably going to become standard. So if you see someone's reputation that had, always been just like that, and then all of a sudden it tanks, there may be things behind it. There may be people acting to make sure that happens. You never know.
Could you explain what? I'm sorry.
Hmm?
Could you explain what astroturfing is?
I don't know the exact definition, and because it's not something I've done. But you know
Okay,
what?
got it. Huh.
Do you want to pull it up on Google,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that
Let's
people
do
can look at
that.
it too?
Let me Google and check. That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
Let's. Here, I will share my screen, and we will Google together. Great idea.
Google
Again, this
it.
is the aspect
Do it.
where I've never
GTS,
done it.
I like that.
Yeah,
Hey, I look, sometimes Google is there for a reason. Use it.
it is. You're right. Yeah. Okay, so it's the Astra. Let's see.
And that way everyone can learn with us. Again, this is
Yeah, I
because
know.
I've never done that.
All right, let's see here. Here we go. Astroturfing. Public relations. Okay, here we go. Can y'all see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Astroturfing is a deceptive practice in public relations that involves hiding the financial backers of an organization or message to make it appear to be supported by grassroots participants. The term
Yeah.
comes from the brand of artificial grass. Oh wait, astroturf. Why am I reading that part? Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. So astroturfing can be used by businesses, political groups, and special interest groups to mimic grassroots support for a product or political agenda. It can involve creating fake
Yeah.
personas, also known as sock puppets. Okay, I get it now. Okay. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to be sure before I shared with anyone the term and the experience with that. But yeah, when people talk about bots, the bots with misinformation, that's very much what this is.
That's it.
Um, where you direct
Got it.
people's attention. So that's what they did.
I mean, look, I'll say
Right.
that
Okay.
that first sentence right underneath here. Astroturfing can make corporate messaging more palatable to the public. You can twist that and turn it right. You can apply that to a singular person. Astroturfing can make X, Y, and Z more palatable to the public, right? Making someone's roots seem more humble. What's the I'm thinking of that. I think it was a documentary that they did on Victoria Beckham. Didn't she have I don't know if it was about her and her husband, but like she's
Yes,
there,
with
she's
her and
in the
David.
interview, right? And I think it was like a special that they just did like last year sometime. I haven't seen
Right.
it,
Yeah.
but I've seen the one clip where she's like, oh yeah, I come from like a working class family, and he's like, you hear him from the other room like, ma'am, excuse me, what
Interrupted
did your dad drive you to school in? What car? And she was just trying to make herself appear more grassroots, more palatable, more of the people. You know what I mean? Like that's obviously a far more harmless way to do it, but that's a version of it is what I think. It is.
Oh yeah, her husband humbled her real
Remember
quick.
that was so funny,
Real
and
quick,
David
yeah.
like walks in, like, what?
Yeah, I
She
love
shut
that
it down
moment.
so fast.
And what was
Basically,
it?
like
Rolls Royce. Yeah,
in so
that's
many
not.
words, he was almost. It was so funny. In so many words, he was almost like, "Bitch, girl up to school every day in a Rolls Royce."
Yeah. He was like, girl, you better tell the truth in there.
Rich
You better
bitch.
tell the truth.
I love that one. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got humbled
That's
real
my
quick
take
by
on
that.
it.
What?
So that was my take on it. But it's pretty much like my breakdown on how he like strolled in. He was just like, and his little accent, and it's like, it's fun. Tell the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah,
Now I want to watch it.
he definitely took care of that misinformation.
He sure did.
But yeah, no, astroturfing. I think the fact that the line "we can bury anyone" became known from this lawsuit. That's the thing, is that I think that's gross, and it's sad to see women do that to other women. Um, but
Sad, but not shocking.
unfortunately, sad but not shocking is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the worst enemies of a woman is not a man but a woman, another woman.
As the other women in the room. Yeah. There's a
Yep.
fantastic creator. She's just really funny. She's well, she didn't start as a stand-up comedian, but she found her way through, Instagram and TikTok, and now she does shows and stuff. But I guess she had done a post, and I had actually missed the initial post. I saw the follow-up video where she talked about it, but she just simply posted something where she was like, hey, I realized that I wasn't feeling comfortable in my own body anymore, and I just wanted to change things, but I didn't want to like get crazy and diet and do all these things. So I just set a goal to walk a minimum of 10,000 steps a day, every day, for a month. And then it turned into 2 months, and then it turned into a year. And she's like, literally all I did, I just 10,000 steps a day. And she just posted a side by side. And it's not this drastic. Like, she didn't go from like a size 20 to like a size 4. It was nothing this crazy. It's just this, she was just showing a transformation. And the follow-up video that I saw first was her talking about how the ugliest comments on that post were not from men, but were from other women. And that she was like, are you kidding me? Like this, and of course I went back and I looked at the post, and she had made it a point not to even delete them on purpose, because it was like, well, now if you're ashamed and you've been called out, then you're not delete your own comment, crappy women. But yeah, it's just so sad that in that we see so many times that frequently like you said, the biggest enemy of a woman is the other women in the room.
Yeah, and I believe they in their text messages, they referenced something about that. And the one factor that I did notice that came through was no one seemed to really like Justin. Even if they didn't like Blake, they definitely didn't like Justin. But it did. They mentioned in it. I don't have the exact quote, but they mentioned that it's sad that they did that to another woman, and it is. We all so many times experience harassment or just commentary or things where we're not chosen because we're women. And having read all of the 80 pages of Blake Lively's document, again, I'm not deeply involved with it, but having read all of the things that he perpetrated, there's no way that I would ever want to. Let's put it this way: if Justin had asked to hire me, I would have said no. And I'm glad because having read those statements, that's I try and respect victims, and all of the things that he asked or did to her, according to what we've read so far, is just absolutely gross and indefensible.
Yeah.
So
even if she is a Hollywood mean girl, right? And obviously there were and that's the thing, is there were so many people when this first hit the news cycles last year, right? There were so many people that were real quick to pull up. Well, they didn't even have to pull up the interview, because the interviewer in that question was the one that had gone back and pulled up the interview and posted it herself. But there were so many people that were real quick to be like, oh, well, it was almost like they were waiting in the wings, like, well, she's a mean girl, look at this example. And it's like, well, first off, some of the stuff that they were pulling up was from quite a while ago. And like, one of the things that irritates me so much, and this is just in general, I think this applies to all people, right, is our inability for people to realize that someone can change. Like, if you really do believe in the good of humanity, then you really do need to believe in someone's ability to change and become a different person and grow, right? And especially women coming up in Hollywood, not that there is ever an appropriate time to be a mean girl, but being a woman in that world, I can only imagine the day in and day out that you take just because you've decided that that's your career path. And she's come up, she's done a lot of shows, movies, she's had an illustrious career. And so she's probably taken quite a few just really horrible things said to her, about her, to her, weight, her looks, her whatever. And it's got to beat you down at a certain point, and maybe you put a shell up. And again, there's no excuse for the behavior, but for so many people, seemingly other women, to come out of the woodworks when this first hit the news and be like, well, she was a mean girl anyways. It's like, that is literally the same equivalent as like, well, did you see what she wore to the party when something bad happened to her? Like, is that what we're saying now, you guys? Like, come on, Just because someone's a mean person does not mean that they deserve to be treated in the ways that we are seeing, come out in this lawsuit.
Yeah, there's a comedian that I like. Her name's Ali Ryan, and I remember a video that she shared. She was talking about how she was with a boyfriend at the time at a party, and this girl had been hitting on her boyfriend, and came up and booped his nose, and she's like, booped his nose. You have to hear it. She's got a great accent. I love her. And but then another time they were at another party, and the same woman was basically being harassed by another guy. And she said to her boyfriend, is she okay? And her boyfriend was like, I thought you didn't like her. And she said, I don't have to like you to, make sure that you're safe. And that's the thing, is that you could be my worst enemy, but if someone, if someone is harassing you or making you unsafe, yes, I will make sure you're okay. I might then
Yeah.
just be like, and go screw yourself afterwards. But I want to
Yeah.
make sure you're
Like,
safe.
are you good, bitch? Are you safe now? Okay, I'm out.
Exactly.
We're done. That's the
All
end of
right.
the conversation.
Yeah. You're a bitch, but you're safe. Good. Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the worst is you may not like someone, but you should always make sure that they're okay. And that's the thing is also that there's so many perspectives. How many times have you seen someone post something and on Instagram, whether they're known or not, and you get like 5 different perspectives? One person thinks that they're a complete jerk, and one person thinks that they're amazing and just so great. Or how many times have you had interaction with someone personally where you've messaged them and you intend it one way and they take it a completely different way? So, even in our interpersonal lives, your perspective on someone and your interactions with them may be totally different. You may think Blake Lively is a mean girl. I may meet her and think she's like the sweetest person since apple pie. And both our perspectives may be fine. But here's the thing: is regardless of what you think of her as a person, the actions stated in her documents are not okay. Those are textbook harassment. And yes, there are publicists who are working to sway your opinion, and it's a shit show. It's a ping pong table. But ultimately, the main thing to remember is people who are victimized deserve to be heard, respected, and taken care of. You don't have to like them. You may not respect them afterwards, but at the very least, no one deserves that.
Yeah.
And I say that as a publicist who has worked with victims. And you know what? I understand that there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen right now, a lot of people swaying opinion. But ultimately, on my thoughts are believe victims.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've got
I
a
love
big hard
that.
stance on that one as well, right? Kim knows my thoughts on that one.
Oh, yeah.
I am a big believe all victims here,
Many years ago, someone was working with I'll just say an athlete who had been in the news for DV, and it was several years later, and they were working with them and wanted me to do some work with them, and I said no, thank you. And that's the thing is that not all money is good money, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
With clients. So yeah. But there's many aspects to
Great
PR.
perspective.
Oh, did we just lose Wendi?
Oh, no, I think we did for a second. Let's see. I think I heard her. Did I hear her?
She's
Maybe I
doing
did.
her Windows.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think until more things come out on this, do you want to discuss Rachel?
There we go. Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's. There we go. Our next topic who wanted to get into Rachel from.
Am I back?
Yes.
I think you're back. You're
You're back.
frozen.
There we go. Okay.
Yes.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, yep. There we go. I think we got.
I guess my internet router decided that it's also bedtime.
Probably her cats
Oh no.
are playing with it. Yeah, she's frozen.
Right? I'm like, where are the
No.
cats? Who's messing with the internet router? No.
Oh, is that what it is? Is it?
Okay, hold on. Let me try this.
Redo the hair. That might help the internet.
It'd be cool if it's just the whip. Just whip it around and it makes it work. Oh my gosh! But oh my, it's so wild. Like just the PR, and it's so, I'm so glad you came because I just wanted to hear this whole breakdown of like you bring this whole great perspective on it. I'm excited.
Thank you.
No,
Honestly,
yeah.
there's so many aspects to it at play,
Mm-hmm.
so many dynamics. You've got, you've got political, you've got Hollywood celebrity, you've got
Mm-hmm.
woman versus man, setting himself up as a
Mm-hmm.
feminist. Is that real? Is that not? You know, there's so many
So
dynamics at
much,
play
so
that
many layers.
part of the reason why I hesitated to discuss this before is I think trying to nail down a viewpoint on this is so difficult
It
because there's
is, yeah.
so many different aspects to it, and it changes
Mm-hmm.
daily practically.
Mm-hmm.
There's new
I
things coming
know.
out. So
Every day, pretty much. Pretty much
mhm,
almost, yeah, every day since,
mhm,
was it right before Christmas? Was it, or New Year's right before? It was right
mhm.
before Christmas, huh?
Yeah, when she dropped
Yeah. The
the
com
civil suit.
filed the complaint or
Mhm.
whatever it was.
Yes. Are we losing
Yeah.
Wendy again? Come back.
Oh no, it looks like it. We may have lost her for a second. But yeah, so we were going to talk about Rachel Lindsay from The Bachelorette just briefly because she was going through a divorce and
Aw,
it,
poor
it
thing.
looks like she is her divorce is finally looks like it's finalized. So after all this or the well they settled it. And
Mhm.
it's just like good riddance. But oh no, I think we've
You
lost
didn't
her
approve of
for
her
a second.
husband.
Huh?
You didn't approve of her husband, huh?
I didn't care for him. I really didn't. It's like he was one of those. I think she's trying to reboot real quick.
Do
Her
you want to
husband was
hold
one of
off on
those.
recording? Do you want to hold off
Um,
on recording until she gets back?
yeah, we can do that.
Okay. You can
Yeah,
edit this
that's
out,
fine.
right?
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. I can clip it out. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's I'm working on my editing skills. So I'm gonna see when I'm gonna drop this episode. I'll probably drop it. What's today? Wednesday.
The 8th.
The 8th. Okay. We usually drop on Thursdays anyway, so this is perfect timing. So I'm gonna be up all night. I'm gonna clip it and edit it
Okay.
tonight and schedule it out to drop like probably I'll drop it around like 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'll schedule it to release and then yeah. So
Okay. Ooh, this is such a complicated topic. I hope I answered okay and didn't sound like
oh
an
no, well, girl, you're rocking it. I'm so impressed. I'm
Really?
like, yeah, I'm impressed. I mean, I knew you were a great publicist, but I mean, you really know, like, you know your shit, like for real. Shit.
Mm. Mm. Is there a way you can add in my at?
Yeah, what you can do is, yeah, I think, let me see if I can do it on my end. Let me see. Oh, I
I know
can.
some
Okay,
guys
let me do
have
it.
it. I don't have it.
Yeah, yeah, let me do that. Okay, what do you want to put your username
Yeah, at
for your
it's
oh,
Dara.
okay. All right, it's alrighty. Let's see here. Alrighty. Almost there. Okay.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back. She's
Yay!
gonna clip
Sorry
this
about
part
that.
out. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
All right, here we go. Shit. Okay. Oh, there we go.
Are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yep. Chris all the time. That's what you remind me of Deborah whenever she was on a podcast. She's like, "Can I curse?" I was like, "Of course. Absolutely you can." Here we go. Now I got it. Okay.
Yay, perfect. Okay, Rachel Lindsay.
Yes.
Let's talk
Okay,
about
so
it.
Rachel Lindsay. Yeah, so it looks like the divorce looks like it's finalized. Um, or they're settling it. I have to look at it a little bit more, but however it is, it's done. I'm more like just like good riddance for her.
Yeah.
You didn't approve of the husband.
Honestly, I don't think that too many people, like Kim said, right? What all of us that watched that
Hmm.
season there was somebody else that we were all bigger fans of. and she chose who she chose. And I don't know that anyone, to be honest with you, I always kind of wondered if maybe, like, one, I do appreciate that she was like, look, one thing we're not doing is we're not going to televise our wedding. That's not what this was about. Like, I went on this show for the real reasons and to find love. And you know, they were together for a while before they got married. But I think part of it too was like her not wanting, I think there was a realization around the fan base that she had were fans of hers who were like, well, we support you, right? It's like the friend that comes in is like, well, do you like my new boyfriend? I like you. You are my friend. But do you like my new boyfriend? And the answer is, well, babe, I like you. I support you. You know, sometimes we all have to say that. I will say I was not at all surprised when the news of them splitting came up. And very quickly, it was like things were super quiet. And it's interesting because, like, hearing your whole talk about Publicists and their role and what they play, now as I look back at when the news of them divorcing broke, and it was like, hey, X, Y, and Z, it was clear cut and then very quiet. It's like she had a good team. And I think she knew what she wanted out there and went out there. And I think she just, it was like, hey, we're getting a divorce. It didn't work. We're keeping this quiet. I was really interested when I saw the article and the breakdown is in there. And during the whole process of the divorce, she's also been paying him monthly support in the lead up to it, right? So all told, with everything he got to keep, which, to be honest with you, what's funny is I haven't gone back and looked to see, because there was like a call out of a watch that a very specific watch he got to keep, which somebody on Reddit was like, isn't that the watch that she gifted him on, you know, the season? And it was like, well, now I kind of want to go back and look, but all told, between, you know, everything he's getting to keep, the monthly payments he's been getting in the lead up to the divorce, and then the one-time payout, that man got $1 million or more out of a divorce. Right? Yeah. But
he came out pretty good.
But supposedly he's such a successful business, you know,
business
person. He's got all these businesses, and the whole reason that he couldn't live on the West Coast was because he had all of his businesses over there. And I'll be honest with you, I wonder if there was a tactic there in, hey, I'm not going to say anything publicly about the divorce. I'm not making a statement. What's done is done. She's just been talking about how she's ready to move on and heal, and that's all she's ever said. But it's interesting that the details of that came out. And I wonder if that's almost her team kind of being like, hey, well, look, we're not going to trash talk the guy because it's not a good look, but let's just show you what he got. We'll just show you what he has. We don't got to talk trash about him.
Played.
We'll just show you what he asked for and what he got. And it almost makes me wonder. Because I don't know. Obviously I don't know the ins and outs. I know that there have been plenty of times where divorce settlements amongst, and I will say this is usually when it's two celebrities. And when I look at them, she to me is the celebrity. He's a guy that went on The Bachelorette and got picked. She is the star, right? But it makes me wonder why have we seen where divorce settlements have happened in the past and nothing gets released, but this one, there's a breakdown. You know what I mean? I don't know. Part of me, when I saw that, I was like, is that their way of like not trash talking, but like just being like, hey, we don't got to talk trash. We're just going to put the cards on the table and you guys think what you want to think.
I'm not sure. But I think some divorces you can get sealed and some divorces don't end up sealed. I know I've definitely read of other celebrity divorces where it's like she keeps the Jeep and he keeps the Mercedes, and you know, he gets this apartment and she gets that house, and they do share the breakdown. I don't know enough about her, and because truth, I've never seen a Bachelorette episode. I think I maybe have seen one or two, but I've never really followed the series, so I don't know. But you know, you make a good point. You know, how is it that all that came out? There are definitely moles at courts who will share for the right price. So it may not be the team. It may be some mole at the court who shared the documents. It may be that it's not a sealed document, or it may be, as you say, it may be her PR team who put it out and shared all the ways that he's benefiting. So there are definitely a variety of possibilities.
Interesting. Okay. I will say I will be on the Reddit threads now that I know the divorce is finalized and it's out there. I will be in the Reddit threads like, all right, what are people saying? Because there are loosely said, and I will say there have been comments over the years, of course. And I mean, I haven't watched the franchise in, like I said, she was one of the last Bachelorette years that I watched. And The Bachelor had kind of lost me quite a bit before that. But there was talk even after, because I will say, at the time that I was watching it, I was always big into I was doing a lot of traveling for work at the time. I didn't mind if it got spoiled. I was going to watch the show anyways. I'm a big fan of what I like to call the trashy reality TV genre. And while her season was in no way trashy, I think that The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and all those, it falls into that trashy reality TV kind of. I just watch it to get away. So I did not care about spoilers. So usually by midway through the season, I would be looking up where are the spoilers at. And so, there had been rumors even before the end of her season that he had won. Of course, they ended up being right. And there was a lot of whisper around that time of his history and maybe some less than ideal or above board business practices in Miami. And there was, but all of that seemed to get quashed really quick. And I mean, she was very adamant, as soon as the finale had aired and they came on, it was like, hey, this is my man, this is who I chose, enough is enough. But even back then, there were whispers. So I think there's a bunch of people like me that even if we've been out of the loop for a while are like, oh, we remember all the talk.
I told you so moment.
Yeah.
That I told you so moment of your bestie when they choose someone and you're like, and then they're like, actually, we're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just, and what you don't want to do when your friend comes to you in that moment is go, girl, I told you so. But you are sitting there and you know it. And she knows it too. You told me. And I'm like, I know. You're just looking at each other like, I know I told you. I know you told. And it's like, okay. But you know what? What's done is done. He's out of the picture. She's done fantastic things. I'll tell you that I had watched an episode or two of her podcast before this, but I will very much be going back and watching all of it now because I just want to see how she flourishes after all of it. But the fact that man got more than $1 million out of her over the course of
I know, I was stunned.
Yeah.
But that showed me that she just, it felt to me like she just wanted to get that weight lifted off of her, that she just wanted to be done with it. But I bet it was painful, very painful for her.
Yeah, I think as women, and I will say that this is kind of one of the reasons why I did ultimately kind of stopped watching the show. And it was because look, again, trashy reality TV is something that I'm big into, but they got to the point where they were picking there were never terrible women that they were picking, to be fair. But for sure, the quality of women that they were having on the show was going above and beyond kind of what they were picking as far as the men. And what you found was that, at least up front, and she was one of the ones that I always thought was legitimately hey, I've left behind a very successful career. I really do want to get married. I did the unconventional thing and went on The Bachelor before. They've asked me to be the Bachelorette. I could see how it could work. I'm going to do it, and as a woman, to come up against something and to take a step out there and to put yourself out there and to change your life. Because she left a career that she could easily go back into, but it would probably be very different. But she had ultimately moved to be near him for a while before she had come out to California and relocated out here. And I think for women, that sense of failure that comes with, okay, this relationship didn't work, especially for something so public and something that when people were rooting for you so hard. Even her statements around it at the beginning, it was really just that, hey, you guys you're right, we're fine. We're splitting up. It is what it is. She never really talked about it in too much detail. And You did get the sense that it wasn't necessarily like, I just don't want to talk about it because I don't want people to, it was that it was a painful thing. Like, it feels like this was a genuine, failure to her. And that's so upsetting. But yeah, like you said, just be done with it and be like that, have that weight lifted off her shoulders. Because I don't know about you all, but I've definitely had, it wasn't a marriage, but I've had a relationship that when it was all said and done, it was like, oh goodness, like I'm so glad that's just,
we all had
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
We've all had those relationships where when they're done, you're just like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And, then you can thrive without them.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I would be interested to know now, because I think, and like I said, I haven't watched any of they almost got me with Golden Bachelor. They almost got me. But again, because
They
I
almost
like the
got you.
spoilers, they did. They almost got me. They almost drug me right back in. Because I was like, oh, you guys going to do something here? But I very quickly went and looked up the gossip. And it was like episode 2. I was going to let it get a few episodes so I could do a mini binge, but I was already deep in the interwebs looking at the gossip. And people had already heavily debunked and showed proof of the fact that when he was like, oh, I'm a widower, I haven't dated in like a decade, it's so sad. And people were like, it was literally like episode 2 of the show. And people were like, hey man, turns out he had like a live-in girlfriend that he wouldn't even wife up. And it turns out he said problematic things to her, like about her weight and stuff. And I was like, really? You guys had such a great opportunity to do something so good. And that's the man, like, just goes to show you. But I was like, that's the man you chose. And so I didn't even, and when that marriage fell apart, I very quickly was like, yeah, I'm not surprised because that's what the man you picked. Like by episode 2, us, the normal everyday internet sleuths, were like, hey, we found out he had a live-in girlfriend this whole time. So did y'all miss that? Or did you not care? Or you didn't think we would find out? Like,
probably all of the above. I'm sure they vet and look into the backgrounds of the contestants and everything. And, on one level, it might be a good thing for them, for the show, if, they can prove something like that or people find that out, because people get involved and then that drums up controversy. Oh gosh, he's not, what he says.
They almost hate watching it more than instead of watching it for the love, they're watching it out of I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one thing you have to understand is that
seen that on other shows,
One thing you have to understand is that also many years ago, I had a client who was on The Voice, and he hired me shortly after, while he was already on the episodes. And at first, someone introduced us. He was like, "Oh no, I'm sure the NBC publicity team will take care of me." And then very quickly after, he realized that, oh no, it's not about me. They don't care. And they hired me, and he hired me. But unfortunately, because he hired me like mid-season, it was hard because I couldn't drum up a lot, and a lot of opportunities that could have happened didn't happen. Is that his fault? Absolutely not. But that's the thing, is that I'm sure it's different when someone is the main cast member. But for the most part, the one thing that you need to understand is that the publicists for these shows and for the networks, their main goal is the shows and the networks and not the contestants. So yes, on some level, I mean, if you're, the Bachelor, you're the Bachelorette, yes, they're going to do some PR for you. Absolutely. But, if you're just like contestant number 23 on there, they don't care about you. And also, sometimes I've never been in casting, but as we know, for the reality shows, when they're casting, a lot of times they cast for personality, aka who's going to be controversial, because if you've got people who are just genuinely nice and kind and boring, that's not going to make good TV. I mean, a little bit. I mean, anyone who's old enough, me, remembers back in the day, John on The Real World, who was, the virgin cowboy.
Right.
Yeah. Sweet, but he also said some problematic stuff. So on one hand, he was genuine and such a sweet little young kid, basically. But on the other hand, where he made good TV was he said some problematic things and he didn't have the experience, you know. And he was also the opposite of many of the cast members who, you know, were encouraged to drink and hook up. So those are some of my thoughts on the reason that they cast people. So who knows? Maybe with Jerry with the Golden Bachelor, they knew. We'll never know if they knew about his exes.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite possible.
I would imagine that the NDAs are just ironclad, even for the people that are like working on the show now that go and get different jobs later. Like, I would imagine that there is all sorts of things in writing to keep people's mouths closed. Because I will say, one of my favorite things in later years as a reality TV watcher has been to like look up any of the behind the scenes, like, okay, the people that were really there, like, tell us what it's really like. You know what I mean? Like, what is it really like on these shows? You know what I mean? And it's interesting sometimes when you get the people that are like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z. I like if you look at another show from back in the day that had some rather terrible moments and kind of it's been refreshed in recent years. America's Next Top Model. There are a lot of ladies that, oh yeah, right?
Yeah.
Because I will say that was probably like my OG like trashy reality TV show that I watched. That was one of the originals, and I mean, there's been a lot that's been said about that show in recent years that you just go, oh, yeah. Like I couldn't even, like at this point, I've read so much about it that I couldn't even go back and watch old episodes and not be thinking about it. Like I would just be like, I gotta turn it off, you know? But yeah, it's interesting though, like to hear, you know, for you to have a client come to you midway through the season. I mean, honestly, look, the amount of things that I've learned from you just in the last, hour that we've been sitting here, if I was young and like go on a show like The Voice, which you think seems innocuous, and is it like a Real Housewives or, you know, even like an ANTM, which, you know, they needed somebody, you know, because when you've got casts living in a house together, you want the drama, you want a little bit of problem, you know. But you wouldn't think, especially if you're going on a show like The Voice, you're not necessarily thinking, oh, they won't always have my best interest in mind. You might just be thinking, oh, this isn't one of those kind of shows, you know. And
let me clarify. It's not that they didn't have his best interest. It's that they weren't pushing him forward for opportunities. Whereas myself being hired as an individual publicist, you know, I could pitch him to, you know, say the Rolling Stone or say this and say, you know, hey, I've got one of the contestants of The Voice, you know, who do you want to speak to them? Do you want them on? I mean, podcast didn't really exist back then. Do you want him, you know, do you want to interview him? Do you want to have him come to your event? Do you want him at your, you know, to sing at your event? Oh, he's got a record coming out, etc. We can share this. He's on The Voice, but you know, his new song is out, or check out this song. So things like that. That's, you know, aspects of building a brand, not just being on a TV show, but all the aspects of building a brand are not. That's not the job of the publicity for The Voice. You know, like if you're the winner of The Voice, yeah, they'll get you on Good Morning America, you know, or whatever channel. But if you're, you know, contestant eliminated number 7, you know, they're not trying to push you to get onto Good Morning America. They're not trying to push you onto, you know, this tiny desk or this or that, you know, and that's my job. And that's the thing, is that if you go on there and you are a contestant, you are one of, I don't know how many contestants, you know, on the team. You are not the focus. Now, with something like The Bachelor, where you are the main bachelor or bachelorette, yes, you are the focus. But you know, their goal is not necessarily for all the other contestants. They're not trying to get them interviews. They're not putting their career forward. That's my job. And that's why you hire like a publicist. And that's the thing, is that like you also have to understand is that even if you are the main person, the main bachelor or bachelorette, the goal is for the network is to make money, to have the show reviewed. So you are important, more important than contestant number, 17, but you are still, I don't want to say cannon fodder, but you're still part of the goal is to make the show successful, get those ad revenues, get the press for the show.
Make sure there's a new season. Yep.
What? Yeah. The network's
and make sure there's a new season.
Goal is to ensure that the show is successful, the show has press, and you are part of that. But you are, if your goal is to surpass whatever your role on it is, it's not going to necessarily don't leave your hands in the network publicists. And same when I have author clients, they sign with one of the main publishing companies, and that's awesome. They have a book publicist, but the book publicist's role is to get that book reviewed or mentioned in a few things. And they usually have like a roster of like 30 to 50 books a month that they need to get pressed for. If they get 1 to 2 pieces on your book, they're happy. Whereas if you as an author want to build your name, your best bet is to hire an individual publicist to work alongside your book publicist, who will work to get you on podcasts, like, who will work to get you on interviews and things, and not just about your book, but about you as a human, you as a your story, etc., interviews, commentary, etc. So that's all part and parcel. So when they're casting for these people, you have to understand, yes, maybe the main bachelor or bachelorette's important, but they're also still secondary to the importance of the show and the network.
Yeah, because it's like you said, it's about viewership, because viewership means good ad revenue, and that's if you're working for the show, right? Your ultimate goal is to get viewership and make money for the show. That's so true.
Yeah, and when as we discussed before, whether or not Jerry actually whether or not the show knew about Jerry's past exes, we'll never know. That's probably in a document somewhere, but you never know. It's quite possible they did, and they did that, and not to go back to astroturfing, because I don't think this is negative, but for all you know, maybe someone in the went on Reddit and shared, oh, I actually know that he had a girlfriend right before this. Boom, everyone's talking about it. Commentary, show is popular.
Right, and that's what it makes you wonder now, thinking about it. It's like they knew that they were onto something with taking a different angle, but if they picked someone that was truly good and wholesome, were they, and this is all conjecture, right? But like, if they had just picked someone truly, to be honest with you, I might have watched the show, it might have sucked me in. I don't know, but I can tell you that I thought real long and hard about grabbing those episodes as soon as I found out there were scandals. I was like, I want to see what they're portraying on the show. And so it makes you wonder, did they know? And if they knew, was the play like, hey, with a good, wholesome 70-something-year-old man, we might get, 3 million views a week. But if by episode 2 or 3, people realize he's not the goody-goody that he was, our people are going to come in, and that's going to, add a percentage of viewer, like how many people are going to watch because they know he's not good and wholesome, like,
And also, like, again, I'm not in casting, so I don't know this aspect, but so I don't know how deep their vetting is. I've never applied to be on a reality show. No, thank you, not for me. But so maybe someone else can talk about like all that goes into it. But I'm guessing that part of it is a background check to make sure that there's no crimes, that he's not secretly an ex-murderer, but I don't know how deep they go into the background. And let's be real, maybe he didn't share about that. You know, people don't necessarily have to say, "Oh yeah, I've been single for multiple years." Meanwhile, he's got a girlfriend, you know, that he didn't want to wife up and that he doesn't share with them.
Yeah.
You know, and if he's not already well known, maybe they might not find out about that. Again, I don't know how deep their vetting system is for casting on reality.
Right.
So
Honestly,
Definitely.
I've always wanted a friend to go on a reality TV show just so we can find out what, like, Kim, we need you to go on The Bachelor or Bachelorette so that we can find out what the casting is like behind the scenes, woman.
actually, I know someone who does casting. I will talk to you about this after. See if she wants to do
There we
that.
go.
I mean, I can't guarantee that she'll want to, but you know, I know a couple people.
Hey, look, I love to shoot my shot. You know me.
Right? I was
No, I
gonna
love
say.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah. So she's based in LA, so I think right now is not the time to reach
Oh
out.
yeah, no, not. I know. Yeah. Speaking of which, now I know, like those fires. Have y'all been? That's insane. Oh my
Gnarly.
gosh.
The
But
pictures are really wild.
I know. I was talking to my mom about them tonight, but I've been checking on friends. I checked on Deborah. She said that she's, there, she's good. Torian's good. Like right now, they like at the time when they didn't have any reported deaths at the time, and then but that they were safe where they were. But it's insane, and like Pacific Palisades is like wiped out.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Um,
yeah, it's scary. It's scary. Yeah, I've been trying
mhm,
to share as much information as possible, and you know, just I'm in Florida. What can I do? But I actually I want to shout out. This was really sweet. Is I posted something on my Instagram, and I made Kate Beckinsale a I tagged her, and I made her a
huh?
collaborator, and she shared it, and
Wow.
she's I don't want to say anything, but she shared a sweet note with me and said, you know, thank you for sharing this with me because I didn't know what to do, and people were asking me questions about insurance and what to do, and so thank you for sharing
Wow.
this information with me. And so, you know, I think everyone, regardless of your status right now of, you know, celebrity, non-celebrity, everyone's just trying to share information, help people in any way they
Yeah.
can. And I'm in Florida. I don't know what I can do, but you know, if there's anything that we can do, it's just incredibly scary. And I know multiple people who are scared of losing their homes, or I'm sure we all do.
Hmm.
But
I mean, and this is one of those times where social media should and can be used for good, right? Because one of the things
1000%.
that you can do is what you just did today, which is share resources, right? Because a lot of those people, if you've evacuated and the only thing you have is your phone because you had to just like pick up and leave your house because right if you
Hmm.
evacuated, you're evacuated, you didn't have time to maybe pack up and all
Right.
these things, and so if the only thing you have is your phone and you might just go on social media for a couple minutes to forget about the madness that you're in, and then you start seeing resources that people shared and you go, okay, I feel less hopeless because now I know who to reach out to, now I know that can
Mhm.
help, right? And this is one of those times where
Yeah.
social media can be used as a force for good because it can be
1000%.
used to share resources and resources and resources for people, you know, that need them and may not have any other way to get that information right
Yes.
now.
Ultimately, social media, when used for good, is about connection and support.
Hmm.
And you know, that's the thing is I purposely tagged her because I knew she was based in LA, and she actually had shared something else I tagged, and because I knew she was a an animal lover. And you know, that's one of the things is I've never connected with her in the past, but part of my work is to amplify information, amplify voices, and you know, celebrities get tagged in things constantly, and you know, they can't share everything, but and it's crazy to expect them to, but I think everyone who is human, everyone who is human wants to help in some way, wants to share information, and
Right.
if you have good information. And I'm grateful to her for sharing it, because it's getting out there to multiple people. And that's really what my job is just to get information out to people, whether it's via the media, via social media, via whatever.
Mhm.
Good information. Now, the thing, of course, to be wary of after this is there's going to be a lot of scam people who are going to take advantage
Right.
and post things. Be wary of that. But that's the downside of social media. But ultimately, I would say that public relations should be used for good, and um, disseminating information that is useful and important. And I will say that when I helped find the missing young girl many years ago, it was before Instagram. It was only Twitter,
Mhm.
and one of the things that
I
was very
remember that.
helpful was that I tagged quite a few celebrities who were parents. And one of the things that I would say to anyone who is trying to do PR for themselves is think strategically. You don't necessarily need celebrities to see things, to share things, but think about who your audience is and share strategically with people who are within your niche, within your audience. So, for instance, when the young girl went missing many years ago, I was quite active on Twitter at the time, X, whatever, and so I shared it with people who I knew either had interacted with me quite a bit, as well as people who I knew were parents, because parents would of course be oh my god, a missing person. And
Right, right.
the celebrities that I shared with were parents, so I knew, and I had had some sort of interaction with them previously, so I knew that they were more likely to share. But that's the thing, is it doesn't necessarily have to be celebrity, it doesn't necessarily have to be news, just it should be within your strategic niche, focused. And too many people are like, oh, get the information everywhere. No, 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 no. Focus, So for
Yeah.
me, the information that I shared with Kate Beckinsale was a woman who is offering a place to for animals, if people need to evacuate and don't know where to put their animals. And I tagged her and she shared that. I know she's an animal lover, you know, and I know she's based in LA, so I shared the insurance piece. So think strategically when you are reaching out to people. And I don't mean
Yeah.
that in a negative, targeted way, but
Right.
just in as positive way as possible. And that's part of what we do as publicists, is think strategically. Who is the audience for my client? And it may change, may be different, but we think
Yeah.
about different angles.
It's not bad to want to reach out to a specific core group, right? Because
Hmm.
you can go and shout into a room of 10,000 people, or you can walk into a room of 100 people and say the message that you know will be most impactful for them, and you might get more movement and more messaging out from those 100 people. And in the age of social media, putting something out and even targeting an audience doesn't mean you're only going to get your target audience. People,
Hmm.
look, the algorithm works in weird ways, and we all end up with stuff that ends up, showing up that we're like, how did that end up here? And some of it, you're like, how did I end up on this side of the internet? But then there have been, even in recent months, there have been times where I'm like, oh, I must be doing something right, because I don't know how I got lucky to find you, but I'm so glad I found your little space on the internet. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it's definitely not a bad thing. It's just like you said, right? You focus your energy where it's going to be the most effective, and know that there's potentially going to be some other people that see that, but you want to use your energy, and especially in times like this, right, where it's so important to get specific things out to specific people as quick as possible.
Hmm.
Wanting to target the message isn't necessarily being exclusionary. It's just like, hey, I'm trying to get the people that need to hear this information the most, the quickest. I
Hmm.
would like that to happen first. If anyone else hears it and shares it, great.
Hmm. Absolutely. And you actually brought up something that I share with clients all the time. You nailed
Ooh.
it. Is sometimes, like, clients everyone always wants to see themselves on the cover of Vogue, on the cover of, this or that, or, whatever it is, on Good Morning America. But sometimes you're better off focusing, and you'll get more traction. I've had clients or people have said, like, I was on the Today Show, and not to target the Today Show, and it did not move the needle for selling my product. But then I was on local show in Minnesota, and it was my product is something to do with the snow, and I sold 1,000. Okay, so the concept of bigger isn't always better, because
Right.
sometimes it is. Sometimes, having millions of eyes is exactly what you need. But, sometimes getting it right in front of that person who is looking for, I don't know, snow blowers. If I'm sitting here and watching the Today Show from Florida, I'm going to be like, snow blowers, I don't care, and you lost me. I'm not a client. I'm not who you want. But you got it onto, the local station in Minnesota, and bam, you got that, that story. And sometimes targeting towards your specific niche, even if it means it's a smaller audience paying attention, is sometimes better, because that audience is already dialed in. That audience already cares. So, for instance, people listening to this podcast aren't listening for takes on the economy. The people listening to this are dialed in because they are interested in things to do with Hollywood, with entertainment, with all of that. So if I'm a singer, which I'm most definitely not, God, I would want to go onto this podcast, not some generic podcast or some big podcast where my wares are not appreciated.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that's actually one of the things is when I'm pitching clients, podcasts are a really good thing, because you already have an audience who cares about that subject. Maybe it's a podcast about superconductors, and superconductors. I don't even know. Some engineering term. I don't know. Maybe it's a podcast about, candles, and I have a candle client, and everyone's like, oh, I love those candles. Okay. Superconductors? No, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not an engineer for obvious reasons.
A semiconductor? Is that what it is? Is it a semiconductor?
Yes, that's it. I actually had to pull a list of that for someone recently. So that's why I was trying to think of it. But Lord, that's definitely not my forte. But yeah, no, actually, you nailed that. So sometimes getting information to a wider audience is a good thing. Sometimes getting it to a narrow, targeted audience brings it to the bigger audience. And the interesting thing is that with that young girl who went missing, I targeted, as I said, parents, and got on Twitter and got a campaign that went viral. And then got the story into Gothamist, which was New York based. Got into the New York Post, Daily News, Boston Globe, because she was from Boston. And then CNN saw the story and wanted it. So literally by targeting parents, Twitter, people are active, New York based, Boston based. It then exploded into the national. Now, what happened is that she actually was going through some personal things, came back before CNN went live, so that never happened. And I'm grateful for that, because then her name would be everywhere. And she's doing great now. She's thriving. But it just goes to show, and that's something that I tell clients is, they all want to see themselves on Good Morning America tomorrow. And I'm like, whoa, build. It's
Right.
a marathon, not a sprint. Even Beyonce started out playing country fairs. She was not Beyonce 20 years.
Right, exactly.
30
Yep.
years ago.
Yeah.
She was playing country fair. She was playing actually reality show. She was on oh my god,
Star Search.
Star Search. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, with
Oh,
Girls
that's
Time. I remember
right.
that.
Yes.
That's right. I completely forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's crazy. I had
Yeah.
completely forgotten.
She
That's so
was.
wild.
I,
Yeah.
I don't think they won either, did they?
No, they didn't. No, they lost to a little girl, I believe. I think it was a little, or I think it was a little girl that was singing,
Oh,
I
I don't
believe.
Oh,
remember.
that's crazy.
By the way,
Yeah, I
speaking of
remember because I actually saw that episode years ago. Because I
no.
remember, oh my God, I loved the Star Search. Like them, like I loved. I watched. I remember them, but was it Four Boys and the Babe? They were like my favorite. It was like this little dancing group, and I used to
No.
watch them. And then, and then the guy from Young and the Restless would be on there often. Danny Romalotti plays Danny Romalotti. His band was on Star Search.
No,
Love
I
that
don't
show.
remember all this.
Crazy.
I remember Star Search, but I don't remember all this. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is
I don't know how I remember all that. I sure do.
That would be
that was
great.
such a
Could
good
we
show.
can we get that as the next reality TV show? Like Star Search, like old Star Search contestants, where are they now? Like give us the like if they even if they're like, hey,
I know, right?
this group won and now they're all like 65 and grandparents and like just give us like that. I'll tell you, that is a wholesome reality TV show I would love to watch. I could use a little bit of that in my life right now.
Right.
I know.
Maybe we should start a hashtag. Look, go Star Search. Where are they now?
Star
That's
Search, where are
awesome.
they now?
The only thing I ever
Hey,
see
why
is like
not?
some articles of like, where are they now with people? Or TMZ will be like, this is how they looked, back when they were
Mhm.
9 in this movie, and now they're 33 and looking whatever they say with their headlines. So, but yeah, I love Star Search. That was awesome. But you know what? Just because that I think that also goes to show, just because you lose or you're not the top dog at, on a show doesn't mean that you're not going to have a successful career. I mean, Jennifer
Yeah.
Hudson I think she was kicked off number 7 on American Idol, and I think she's doing pretty
Just
well for herself now.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I think, does she have an EGOT, or she's close to an EGOT?
I think she's close. Or
Does she?
does she have one? I think she does have one.
She might have
No.
one. I don't
Does
know.
she
I'd have
have
to look
one?
it
Oh,
up.
I want to Google that. 1 second. I am.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's. That is interesting.
She does. She has an EGOT.
She does.
Nice.
Ah,
Yes.
That's awesome.
She
oh,
has.
got it.
Yep.
Okay.
She is the youngest woman and the
Oh,
only
she's the
American
youngest.
Idol alum to win an EGOT.
I
Ah,
love that.
Only one of 17 people who have achieved it. I guess you
That's
can be on a
awesome.
reality show and do well sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess American Idol wasn't so bad.
I
And
know.
not winning. Right?
I
I
know.
mean,
Oh,
look,
that's cool.
we have seen some
It's
great
so
things
dope.
come out of even some of the less savory reality shows. You know what I mean? We've seen some good stuff come out of them. And to be honest with you, as much as I enjoy watching those shows for the train wreck, when there are like good news stories that come out of them, I gotta tell you, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I love it even more. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love that. So, I don't know. What do you think about the future of reality shows? Because I saw something
Um,
recently where Clay Aiken was talking about how American Idol has changed and why there aren't as many stars. And one of the things he pointed out that was interesting and I didn't realize is when it was created by the management company, and basically they got the sponsors. So it was a completely paid for show, so that when Fox was like, okay, it's already paid for, we'll put it on. They weren't necessarily expecting it to blow up, but the goal was to get stars for their management company that were already on TV and already had this audience. So then they
Oh,
sold
wow.
the show several years ago. I guess I don't remember who they sold it to, but was it the network? I don't know. But there's no longer the push to find stars for their management company. So basically, it was like me being a publicist and having a show to get new clients. That's
Right.
basically what they were doing. They had a whole show to get new clients and to get new stars. So I don't know. What do you think about American Idol and all of them?
Now, I don't know too much about the competition shows. I do know from speaking to Morgan, because we just had her on our podcast recently. Morgan's a showrunner and executive producer of the show Southern Charm and on Bravo, and also she did Real Housewives of New Jersey. So she's a friend of ours, and so we had her on recently, and she mentioned that like right now reality TV is suffering. It's starting to like die, and it's not being picked up. It's not being bought right now. And what is, and I've noticed what is being bought and picked up, and Kate Casey even mentioned it is like docuseries. That's what's big right now. That's what's being paid for. Was being bought like documentaries and docuseries really, and it makes sense because that's really that's actually what I've been tuning into mostly
Hmm.
and watching. So it makes a lot of sense. I mean that I'm the end all be all to what you're gonna watch and for the whole world. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's catching my attention right now because I think reality TV is kind of like burning me out a bit.
Hmm.
And I can't really my attention span right now is not really holding on to like a television show that's like more than 30-40 minutes. And then but yeah, but I'm fascinating into like really fascinated by the by docuseries and like into like ESPN's like 30 for 30 and things of that
Mhm.
nature. Like just I've been like watching like all of them. So that's really what's taking over. I'm hearing things like that. So we shall
Hmm.
see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's some of the last docuseries you've seen?
Let's see here. The one of the most recent ones I saw actually was about what's his name? It was is how do you say his name? Is Teo? He played the guy that played football at Notre Dame and he was catfished. And he thought that he had this serious girlfriend and
Oh.
he like announced like during a football game, like after when they won, like I think it was he won the Heisman Trophy or he was not he like was up for the Heisman Trophy. It's a big thing. And he got like catfished, but it was a guy that was pretending to like be a female. He like never met her in person. It
Yeah.
was like a huge thing. And that was the last one I saw.
Okay, I kind of remember that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was on and I just saw that recently. It was really late at night when I watched it. And it's
Manti
been on for a
Teo?
little bit now. Huh?
Manti
Hmm.
Teo?
That's yeah, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
Huh.
I've also watched with Dion Sanders, the Coach Prime with on Amazon with his like the University of or Colorado's
Mhm.
this Colorado State he's at Dion Sanders
I
and
know
he's
he's in
followed like
Colorado.
yeah, he's not
I think
Colorado. Yeah,
it's
he's at
somewhere in
Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado.
Colorado State is green, I believe, and he's at Colorado. Yeah, and just following like him and his sons and the team and everything on their journey. So I'm watching that. See, that's on Amazon Prime. That one is.
Oh,
Yes, I
got
just
it. Okay.
so the sports ones, the athletic
Yeah. Are
things
you
have actually
going
been
like
getting my attention lately.
so here's the thing is that like I used to not be a sports girly and then
Mhm.
my ex got me into football and then I kind of fell off of it. And
Uh-huh.
now like I have become crazy about football, crazy about the WNBA, crazy about like I'm getting into women's soccer again.
Oh,
I used to like soccer and then kind of fell off of it too. And I mean for me like especially as an out lesbian like the women's sports of course I'm going to support there's the PWHL so I'm interested in watching that and everything and in Miami we've got Unrivaled the 3-on-3 basketball, which is fascinating. So,
oh
but
wow.
yeah, so I've become a sports. I feel like everyone has suddenly like become sports oriented. Even people who were before were like, "Ugh, sports," are suddenly like, "Oh wait, no, sports is actually kind of cool and interesting." Are you finding that too, or are you that way? Or
I will say Me, historically, baseball was the only sport that I watched. It was really the only thing that that was my go-to sport.
Mhm.
Living in Hawaii, I dabbled in football, but that's only because it was like appropriate to drink mimosas at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday because we were so
Oh
far
yeah, that makes
behind
sense.
the mainland time.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but in the 6 months of being up here, let
Right.
me tell you, it is a different game up here. These people love their teams and they love all of them. They love their hockey team. They love their soccer teams. They love their women's sports, their men's sports, the professional sports, the college sports. They love all the sports up here. And
Yeah.
it has just being around it, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can feel myself already. Like I'm going to a Seattle. I've already decided that I definitely want to go to like a Seattle Kraken game at some
Okay.
time over there. I don't know squat
Who are
about
they?
hockey. I'm going to be so lost,
Yeah.
but I want to go to a game anyways, just to like, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what is going on in hockey at all, but like it is so hard not to get excited
Yeah.
around all these people that just like and they love their teams. Like
Oh.
it's so great. It's really quite infectious,
Oh yeah, don't say the wrong thing in front of team people.
Mhm.
do not say the wrong thing about people's teams.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I also love is how people will come together, especially around like really interesting players. For instance, like it was just the anniversary of Damar Hamlin, his
Mhm.
cardiac arrest on I think it was January 3rd. And oh god, I saw that again and I was bawling. And and there are so many players where it's like, I'm not a fan of this team, but I'm a fan of Keon
Mhm.
Coleman. I'm not a fan of this
Yeah.
team. I'm a diehard so and so fan, but but I like that guy. I like that girl.
Mhm.
It's like, and I love that. I love that the players are also coming out to be recognized as not just no shade to the quarterbacks, but not just the star quarterback, but like all the
Mhm.
other names, all the other players and their stories and their good deeds and their like sweetness and funny moments and things like that. And I love when they're mic'd
Right.
up. Oh my
Oh
god,
my
someone
gosh, I was just about to say, you know what one of my favorite things about football season is? The mic'd up moments. I seek them out on Instagram. I will go look for the hashtag. The mic, they are the one I don't know any of these guys' names, so I don't. But the guy when he's like, this is probably from a couple years ago too, where he's looking for his mom. And he's like, you guys, I can't
I
find
knew
my
you were gonna
mom.
say that.
Where's my I never get to every time that video comes across, I will watch the whole thing anyways because it's so but the
Where's my
mic'd up
mama?
moments
Where's
are
my
my
mama?
favorite. I could not wait for football to start this year.
Yeah.
Literally because I was like, oh my
Mhm.
God, we get more mic'd up moments. Like I love them so much.
And then the moment that he found his mama and the guy sitting next to him just cracked the widest smiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, just like the sunniest smile. He's like, oh yeah, you
I
Yeah.
found your
remember
mama.
that.
It's
That was
the
so
it's so
funny.
sweet.
Oh yeah.
And I think you just like you said, right? We're seeing their personalities. They're not just these big burly guys that are like knocking each other around on the field. You're literally seeing them in
Right.
the middle of a game. Like even guys from opposing teams, you're seeing friends that used to be teammates talking a little bit of like they're like trash talking in this weird wholesome way. And you're like, this is the best thing
Right.
ever.
It's like a soap
It's
opera
like,
with like,
yeah,
fight.
and it's right. It's been so much fun. And then what's his name? Then also, oh my gosh, Cam, Bunner.
Keon
Am I saying
Coleman?
his name?
Keon
Am I
Coleman?
saying his name wrong?
Who?
That's he's for the Minnesota Vikings. He choreographs all these like routines, like and like whenever they score touchdowns. Like he's
Oh
got
yeah.
he did the Camp Rock routine, then
The white
the
girls, white
bear
chicks
trap and the white girls, the white chicks, yeah,
with
the
the
touchdown.
flip
Like
and
it's
everything.
yeah, it's like they started bringing that back, like things like that fun stuff. Oh, then also what I've been loving lately with the NFL
I
players,
saw video.
their
Wait, I
fashion.
saw video of them like rehearsing like the
Yeah.
flip and everything.
Hmm.
Oh, I gotta look that
Behind
up
the
now.
scenes, I was dying laughing. I was like, this is like the most wholesome, hilarious thing. They're like, okay, and trying to do the flip and flipping the wrong way.
And
And
you're cracking up laughing. It's so funny.
yeah, yeah. You were gonna say, sorry, I
I love
interrupted.
it.
I had to share that.
Yeah, oh no, you're fine. No, but what I also love too is how a lot of a lot of the guys, it's like Taylor's taking it things a step further, and I think with this with just social media and the advancement and just the whole connections and exposure to things. A lot of them I noticed they're getting really into fashion. And they had a few of them like Alvin Kamara, I believe, and some others. They went out to like Fashion Week in London, I believe it was. Um yeah, like NFL players. And Joe Burrow went, like I believe it was London. If it wasn't Paris, like went to Fashion Week. So and
No,
just
weren't they
just to watch
walking?
them like huh?
Did they walk or they just attended? I can't remember.
I think they may have walked. I think they did walk.
I feel like
But
Joe Burrow
and I
walked.
think they did also attend, but I thought it was just really cool though that it's like, and then it just you see them now like when they go in and out for the games and stuff and what they wear. It's not like what it
I
used to be, not
love
just a
that.
plain suit anymore. It's like they're in
Yeah.
couture, like
That's so great. And they can show their personalities. And I'll tell you that right there,
yeah,
these mic'd up moments and these guys like the different fashion and like embracing that and letting them show that off. Like
hmm
Mm-hmm.
it sounds weirdly simplistic, and maybe I'm just and look, there are obviously bigger issues to be solved, but simple things that we can do to kind of just dismantle this thought process of like this masculinity. And like you think about these football players and you just think, okay, well, they've got to be these big mean, like they can't be nice to women and they should just always wear, they shouldn't wear colorful things and don't let, and like the fact that we're
hmm
showing the multiple layers to these guys, because first off, don't put them into a box that they didn't ask to be put into just because they also like to play football and are really good at it and happen to be like 6 foot
right.
5 and 300 pounds. Like they can also like fashion. They can also get excited to see their mom in the stands. Like,
Oh,
and
hmm
letting us see these moments are
yes.
that should show all of these other men out there that are so overt. Like you can be a man and still have these
Care about the way
wonderful
you
soft
look.
sides to you and all these different
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I love it. And I think seeing those things on a daily basis is just going
Mm-hmm.
to slowly, without even realizing it, change some people's ideas of what masculinity means to our culture by seeing that.
I hope so. I hope so
Mhm.
because yeah, I mean, what's more masculine than a dude who's like 6'5", 300 pounds and takes a beating like for about a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
And
hmm
yeah,
Yep.
here he is being like, oh, I like this shoe, I like this, etc. Yes,
hmm
you know,
Yeah.
but there's always going to be someone who will look negatively at that. You look at, for
hmm
instance, Travis Kelce, who's known for his fashion, and people have
hmm
negative things to say about him. And I think one of the funniest interactions I loved was on their podcast when they asked Mama Kelsey, are you upset you didn't get a girl? And she's like, well, I kind of got one. And, Travis, he's a fashionista who loves to dance, and
Sure. Yeah.
obviously he's very much a
Yeah.
happily male guy, cis male. But
Mhm.
I think it's funny, he's
Yeah.
very proud and confident in his looks and his fashion. And I
Yeah.
love that. You're right.
Yeah.
I love that they embrace that. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I love is also is seeing how many men, both in the leagues, in the sports leagues, as well as just male fans, are taking to women's sports and championing
Mhm.
and respecting and becoming fans
Yeah.
of. Like I
Yeah,
love
also,
when I see videos with little boys who want signatures from like the WNBA girls or women, and or the like when Sabrina Ionescu did that 3-pointer, and how many of the NBA players were like, damn, on their
mhm,
social media and just
Yeah.
championing her. And I love that there's respect, and there's a buildup of understanding of the importance of women's sports too. And
Yeah.
I think women have for years championed women's sports. And I hate that this is true, but I think on some level we needed to get both the men and the little kids. But when I hate to say it, but getting the men to be like, oh, okay, not just dumb women like who can't make it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, women's sports is legit. It's exciting. It's awesome, and I think having that buy-in has been important.
Yeah.
And I love seeing all the little kids who are just excited about the
Oh
women's
yeah.
sports players.
Oh
Like,
my
come
gosh, yeah, it's the best. It is. It's so
yeah.
great. It's and look, you're right. It's upsetting that it's taken that.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Did
No,
you-
I knew they were going to die. I knew it was going to happen. The other one had beeped at me already.
Oh, okay, your earpods.
Yeah, I but look, I man, I don't know what the exact demographics of the population are, but I'm pretty sure we lean pretty hardcore to the, cisgendered male.
Mhm.
And so the reality is that sometimes we need them, to kind of drive the interest or the attention to certain things that are, not categorically just for cisgendered heterosexual men, right? We need that, but we need that group. And I'm glad that we have people in that group that are like, there's some that are like, we've been saying this for years, women's sports are great. And like, but the fact that we're here now, I think that's what's good. And I think the fact that we're
Oh
seeing
yeah.
a lot of men kind of wake up to it and go,
Oh.
maybe they weren't like, I was part of the, like, I wasn't part of the problem because I wasn't running around saying women's sports are dumb, but maybe they're like, maybe me speaking up now and saying women's sports are equally as interesting and great, just because they weren't themselves individually a part of the problem doesn't mean they can't be a part of the solution by championing it, and I think it's a great.
Right.
I think it's great too. And to bring it back around, I think to publicity, there was a viral TikTok a few years ago from a WNBA, from a college basketball player, Sedona Prince, who called out the NCAA for their weight rooms, because the men's weight rooms for the NCAA champions were like crazy big, and the women's had like 3 weights. And then also, again, to bring it back to publicity, I think there was an explosion of interest in the WNBA when the whole Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese article and videos came out, where they were like, ring, with the ring thing.
Oh yeah.
Just that little bit of publicity and press caught the attention of people, and I feel like things exploded from there, and that just goes back to, again, why I think PR is important, why I think press is important, and how it can really turn the tides of how people view things or what they're interested in.
I mean, it's what you said at the beginning, right? Your job is to amplify voices. And by simply amplifying one person's voice in a room that's not being heard, doesn't mean you're dimming the voices of others. You're not turning someone else's volume just because you're raising someone else's volume to the same level, right?
1,000%.
Yeah. So it's like you said, it's this amplification. And I don't think that most, you would hope, right? Obviously there are bad people in every profession. There are shitty doctors. There are shitty there are just crappy people, and you find the best, most selfless, I mean, literally whatever it is, you can find a crappy person, and you can find someone with ill intention, right? But
Right. I would tell people that all the time.
just focusing on the good, and like you said, continuing to amplify voices and do the good and raise people up, like those are the people that, look, in the crazy times that we're in right now, those are the voices that I look to that make me go, you know what? All hope is not lost, you guys. Like, just when I think I'm like, I world too much, then I'll see something, and I'm like, nope, it's okay. It's okay. Like, it's going to be fun. Maybe it's going to be really cruddy for a while, but it is going to be okay, because we still got good people doing and saying good things,
And doing the work.
Right.
Yep. And doing the work. And yeah, just amplifying, the pendulums swing. Yep. Pendulums will always swing. And sometimes when they swing too much to the one way, they'll swing to the other. And, maybe they're in the center and people get, antsy because it's in the center for too long. So they pull it to the other side. That's just kind of the nature of physics, I think. But, so yeah, there are always people doing good. And I think one of the good things about social media, one of the good things about Press is it brings it forward. It brings forward stories, both of, people doing great things, people who need support, people, how many times have you gone on, TikTok and seen, TikTok do your thing. This is my dad. And, his dream was to open a restaurant and, we have no one coming and he's depressed and on the verge of closing, and boom, people take it, run with it, and all of a sudden you've got 1 million views and they're busy.
Yep.
You've literally just saved someone's livelihood and their
Mhm.
dream. And, maybe that's not necessarily the media, but social media is, that's amplifying people's voices. And I think those are important. Is every story going to be heard? No. Are there stories, think about social media, stories that get posted every day that need to be heard. I mean, there's so many times where I've come across someone and I have no idea who they are, but they've got 3 million fans, followers. They're
Mhm.
famous to somebody. I have no idea who they are. I wouldn't know them from a hole in the wall, but they're famous to somebody. And that's the thing, is that there's so many niches where there's stars and voices in every niche.
Right.
Just because you may not have heard of a story, maybe, just because your story isn't getting out there doesn't mean that, maybe it's not the right niche that you're reaching out to.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I'm not a gamer, and there are celebrities,
Mhm.
who have like 100, who have like 10 million followers in gaming, who, watch everything that they do. And, you and I could walk past them and have no idea,
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing, is that so many people, I've seen commentary from people upset, like, oh, this story should have been told on the media, or, things are hidden. And no, it's not. It's just that there's so much, everyone's, it's like kittens trying to find the nipple. Everyone's pushing and trying to find that one. And, everyone's pushing to be heard. And,
Mhm.
it's difficult. I will say this, even as a publicist, I've had stories that should be amplified, should get tons of press, and couldn't find interest. And then I've had stories where I'm like, oh, okay, that got interest.
Wow, that took off.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And for whatever reason, that caught people's attention, and you do your best to predict it, but you know, it's things happen, and it's the wind can change, and you never know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, just
So,
like you said, we're seeing a shift in reality TV, and I'll tell you, if you kind of go back to the roots of reality TV, I think the reason why a lot of us, and maybe it's specifically like kind of our generation that came up with the beginnings of reality TV, it really was quite trashy. I mean, look, I love that the man was at the Olympics, and I love that he's having this whole second chapter, but let's not forget,
I know, right?
their ninth chapter, but let's talk about Flavor Flav. Come on, right? Let's talk about
Flavor of love.
I love Flavor of Love, by the way. Rock with
Me
Love,
too.
also watched that. I mean,
so did I.
Mhm.
it's
Such strange love.
the craziest, trashiest Housewives episode of any of the franchises, and it will still not compete with any of the episodes from some of the original trashy reality TV shows. So even in this
So
time,
true.
we've kind of seen an evolution, and I wonder if a shift towards the viewership in kind of these docuseries is people are going, hey, we like the trashy reality TV, but then we've also realized that a lot of the people we used to watch on those are real people, and now we're hearing their story. We want to hear about their other stories too. Actually, we want to hear about a lot of people's real stories, and so I think maybe we're on that,
Mhm.
like you said, the pendulum swings, and maybe we're just on this
Yeah.
other. Maybe 20, 25 years from now, it'll be back to new versions of Rock of Love and Flavor of Love.
Right. Yeah.
on some level also, people have gotten suspicious because reality shows, people go on and they're so glamorous, whereas we were watching, what's it called, what's the one, Seven Strangers Picked to Live in a House,
A Real World, yeah.
Real World, where they didn't have glam teams, they didn't have makeup.
Mm-mm.
They were just like themselves. Now, was there editing? Absolutely. But they did their own makeup. They weren't wearing, the latest Versace. They weren't like
Mhm.
having boob jobs up to here. They were just, Julie on The Real World
Right.
was as Midwest as you get.
Yeah.
She was
Right. So
not polished,
true, yeah.
and that's
Right.
the thing is
Oh,
that
yeah.
I feel like on some of the reality shows, they're so polished that it's turning people off. And if you're saying that people
Mhm.
are going towards
That's what
some,
it is. It's so produced. It's like, well, they like self-produced by a lot of these individuals. Like you said, they're so polished. So
yeah, yeah. When you're sitting
boring.
there and you're like, I want to know your story, but I'm sitting there and I can
Mhm.
count all your plastic surgeries, and it's like, okay, suddenly you went from like an A chest to a D chest, and no shade, everyone do what you want, etc.
Mhm.
But it becomes more about the aesthetics than
Right.
about the authenticity, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. It's like, who the fuck are you? That's what we want to know. That's we come
Or
to
building a
mention. Like, who are
storyline,
you?
because I'll tell you, and Kim, when I think one of the other episodes that I did with you and Blair a couple months back, I was talking about how, so just in a line of work I previously used to be in, listening to things was what I did a lot. It was a lot of
Mhm.
listening. You're talking about a 20-year career where it was just a lot of listening. And so I realized maybe about 5 or 6 years ago that if I was watching a show and I just like had it on in the background as music and I was like maybe doing something else, but the show was in the background, I would be like, did the tone, hold on. And I would go back and rewind a little bit and realize like, oh, they would start the interview with the person on camera and you're watching them. And then as soon as they kind of said something slightly scandalous or maybe kind of bitchy or shitty, you would realize that a lot of times it's not even very good audio cutting. You can very clearly hear where they have cut from something else that they've said and like pieced a couple of sentences together or shoved
Yeah. Mhm.
like maybe even pieced like to, and they always have to cut away from that too, because obviously now you don't have the video that's going to match up with the audio because you've cut the, and
Right.
then you notice that you can't unnotice the audio cutting, and it really has even shows that I just love to watch because they're not as
Right.
trashy.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god, you guys didn't even do a very good job of cutting audio to give us a storyline. Like, cut the audio better. Come on. I know you've got the tools for it, but like once you've noticed how much audio cutting they do to splice things together, it'll ruin it for
Yeah.
you. Really ruin
Yeah,
it.
everyone says like so
It
and so
does.
had to kill
Mhm.
it in it,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is that I think audiences are becoming more aware of the machinations behind the scenes, and becoming both jaundiced and suspicious of it, and looking towards more real.
Yeah.
You
Like the
know,
confessionals, give us the confessionals from it. Like you walked in the room and maybe you talked a bunch of shit, and sure, maybe it was not a good thing and that's what got put on TV. But at least that's what you actually said. Was it the greatest thing? No. But it was your 10 sentences that you said. No one took something and mashed a bunch of things together. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Mhm.
it's very interesting. That one, but that I'll tell you that once I realized that I could and I started paying attention,
And you could hear it.
just started ruining
Mhm.
reality TV for me.
Oh yeah, I get that. Yeah. I used to listen to when I was working, I would put on reality TV in the background because
Mhm.
I would want a little bit of noise.
Mhm.
But I didn't want something where I'd have to sit and watch and be like, oh, so is that one the killer or is that one the killer? You know? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have on like, the Kardashians back in the day in the background because, if I checked out and tuned back in 10 minutes later, it wasn't like I missed some plot twist
Yeah.
or something, you know.
Mhm.
So it was a great background noise, but yeah, it's interesting. It's both polished, almost too polished, and not polished enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There have been
Mhm.
some where you're just like, I'll go back and I'll notice things now recently, even on shows that I like don't necessarily watch, but like snippets or clips end up on like Instagram, and like I will hear and I'm like, wow, do you think that we're stupid enough to not catch that? Because like even a normal human being that's talking, like I'm not like, Kim is such a nice, and like things were changing so
Mhm.
quick. It's like that had to be on purpose. You had to know that someone was going to notice that. You know, please tell me you
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
fall for that.
And then it begs the question: was that incompetence, or was that on purpose?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
Right?
yeah.
But
You know how like people finally realize that ads are a little bit louder than your show,
Uh-huh.
and you know people were finally like, oh, that's on purpose.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they make the ads louder. So
Well, I
that,
didn't even think about it. I knew that. I
Mhm.
just hadn't thought about it in a really long
Yeah.
time. That's true.
yeah, you know, and I wonder how much of it's
Mhm.
incompetence or how much of it is calculating.
On purpose. Yeah,
Mm,
completely on
I
purpose.
know. That is
Yeah,
very interesting. Oh, yeah.
I know.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
on that note, ladies, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap it up. But Dare, you want to go ahead and leave us with how our audience can find you?
Yes. On TikTok, it's the real Dara 2. So at it's the real Dara 2. Unfortunately, my previous one got hacked, so I don't have access to it. On Instagram at it's the real Dara, on X at it's the real Dara, on Threads at it's the real Dara, and my website is www.fascinatemedia.net, not .com, .net. I think that's all of my social media. Lord knows there's so many.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm also drop your links too at the for YouTube so that way whenever they watch they can go through, click and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And what about you, Wendy? You want to go ahead and drop yours?
Look, I don't have TikTok. I have to live vicariously through others, although I do have friends that thankfully send me like all the scandalous and funny stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And look, my Instagram is pretty low key, but if you like food and you like coffee, and if you like pictures of the sky, because for some reason at this stage of my life, I have now become heavily obsessed with sunrises and sunsets, then you can on Instagram. And I will always share a cup of coffee, except for the last 2 mornings because I have not been drinking coffee because I've been under the weather. But I am at Naughty Kitchen, which is a nod to my dislike of following recipes, even though I own approximately 87,000 cookbooks. But also it's spelled Nauti, which is a little bit of a nod to my own roots of growing up being a sailor and spending a lot of time at sea, and traveling the world is how I learned to love food. So if you're interested in that, you can find me over there.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, awesome. We've got some fun stuff coming up. But y'all, thank y'all so much for joining me. This is so great. And y'all, this is just the beginning because we've got other great stuff coming in. Soon we've got our
Okay.
slutty brunch coming. I'm excited about that.
I know. I'm very, very excited for this. And I'll tell you, I did do a couple of test runs last weekend, and then I ended up getting called on Sunday. I was working a little bit. I had like a 5 or 6 hour call, but I did test run a couple things. So I need to send you some pictures because some of them went quite well. And I think they are very slutty brunch appropriate. So I think we might be
Oh,
on.
hell yeah.
Yep.
I'm excited. Yes. So
Okay.
excited. That'll be so much fun. Alrighty, loves. Well, y'all have a good night, everybody. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share. Just let's keep it alive. Let's keep growing. We're gonna grow the damn thing.
Indeed we are.
Yes.
Yes. And thank you for having
Yes,
me
we
on.
are. Oh, thank you for joining me. Well, y'all have a great night, morning. Well, probably morning whenever I get this released. Put it all together. But y'all, all y'all great people, have a good night. Love
Okay.
y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.